I'm here with Alex, and we're going to talk a little bit about Intelligent Octopus Go, Charge Cap, Charge Pack, Drive Pack. What else?
I don't know. We're really going with alliteration now, aren't we?
Yeah. So, I got a bunch of questions that I prepared here, and I'm going to kind of ask you about some things that we've done with IO Go and why are we doing some of the changes that we've seen recently. So let's start off with Charge Cap. What is Charge Cap, and why have we done it?
So Charge Cap is really just reflecting something that we've had as part of Intelligent Octopus Go since we launched it in 2022, which is a 6-hour fair use policy for EV charging. Now, Charge Cap basically just takes that fair use policy and puts it into a much more user-controlled environment by giving people visibility to are they within the 6-hour charging cap or not. And that's because Intelligent Octopus Go it's been a standout success. It's continuing to grow. It's the most popular EV tariff in the market, and we want to continue investing in it and growing it. And to that, it's got to be fair for everyone.
So, common question actually is why is it 6 hours? I know we put it in the terms and conditions, so that's what we're now enforcing. But some customers asked me on Twitter and Facebook and said, well, actually, could I not have 42 kilowatt hours, which is 7 kilowatt hours peak car charging over 6 hours?
It's a great question. I think two things I would say about that. One, we need to separate two things within the Intelligent Octopus Go tariff. One, you always have 6 hours of super cheap electricity for your whole home overnight from 11:30 to 5:30 a.m. That has always been part of the proposition, and that's really important. Then you have got 6 hours of smart charging. Now, it's 6 hours because the way that electric cars charge, the battery management system on the car itself will change the amount of power that it's actually drawing based on how full it is. So we've all probably, you see it the most simply when you're at an ultra rapid station on the motorway, and you kind of watch, those like huge numbers, like 350 kilowatts when the battery's really empty, and then it kind of gets to 80%, and it really starts tapering off. And that's because the battery management system is purposefully decreasing the amount of power so it can balance the cells, make sure they don't get harmed, and stay within the warranty conditions of the manufacturer. So that's why we've always gone for time versus a specific energy amount.
Cool. Okay. But I think also when we look at I look at Agile a lot. It's got my name on it. So when I look at Agile, and we see the kind of the dips in the prices, and I can see so 2:30 in the afternoon, it's cheap. So I think there's an element around that. It's the time piece, isn't it, that we're saying is the rule, as it were.
It's time, and one of the to get a bit more geeky, like the whole element is those cars are helping balance the grid. They're trading power, they're reducing constraints. That can happen, in a 5-minute window.
Right. So that's a particular time boundary. We're saying at 2:30 is when we need the energy. It's not just 42 kilowatt hours spread out over the whole day, because you might have that lumpy in the wrong place, like 4 till 7 peak time or something on Agile.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's the time element that matters there. Cool. Tell me about solar, because obviously the change to IO Go Charge Cap 6 hours and things like streams that we've just launched. Was that yesterday? Every day rolls into the other. Anyway, so stream. So why is that happening? What's happening with solar?
So I think, 4 or 5 years ago, when we launched Intelligent Octopus Go, the grid dynamics were very much, cheap power and grid balancing really took place overnight. But a lot has changed in 4 years. We've almost 3 million EVs on UK roads, hundreds of thousands of residential solar systems, and more times than not, more than like 60% of the UK's power needs are being met by wind and solar. And so that changes the dynamic of like how to help balance the grid. And we've had such an explosion of solar that now there's actually huge balancing, grid balancing and super cheap electricity available during the day, early afternoon, late afternoon, even into the early evening. So it's actually kind of, in summer, kind of paradoxically, it may actually be cheaper to charge at 5:30 p.m. because you still have some excess solar. So just like that's how quickly things
that's the 4 till 7 peak
exactly
period.
Right. So like things are being changed completely, and so that's why we retired Greener Nights, because it's it did its thing, and it really we had such a loyal community of drivers on Greener Nights, and we've launched streams to help everyone through this whole transition. So now it's really just plug in often. plug in, and like, one of the ways I think about this is like, we always plug in our phones and we don't think about it, right?
Yep.
I get to my desk and I plug in my phone. I get home and I plug in my phone. I plug in my phone when I move it from the living room to the kitchen.
But it always charges as soon as you plug it in.
Well, actually, not anymore. Have you seen? I don't know about on my iPhone. I've now got a setting where I can have optimized charging.
I've not done that.
Yeah,
I'm missing that bit too.
yeah. So that's the main thing. Is that the grid is changing.
Yeah.
How all of these EVs and other low carbon tech are helping balance the grid is becoming even more dynamic. So streams is a way of kind of showing that in an easy to use form. And by the way, if you are going away for the weekend, you can freeze your streak.
Cool. This is my next question, because if I like earning streaks on like Duolingo and Strava and actually LinkedIn games, my streaks are really good on LinkedIn games. With a car, physically it's got to be attached, but of course I go away for the weekend or I go away for a week, then I can't. There's no way of getting that back. I think the freezes is going to be really important, isn't it?
Yeah, and guess what? Freezes accrue just like your annual leave.
Yes.
So, it's not even just weekends you need to worry about. You can bank those freezes, and then when you're gone for a 2-week summer holiday, your streak's safe.
Cool. Brilliant. That's exactly what we need. Right, great. So, following question to that though is, what am I actually going to get rewarded for other than 20 fish?
Well, I mean, first of all, you've got to catch them all. But look, have we ever not done cool and exciting things for customers in our 10 years of being Octopus?
So there's going to be something. We're going to get a reward out of this.
Well, yes.
Are you listening? He's going to say it.
Yeah. Only if you get the super streaks.
Okay, get the streams.
So streams, yes, God. So, I mean, look, participate, get on the streams, great things will happen.
Cool, good. Right, let's watch that. Next question. So we've covered streams, that's done. I'm going to talk about vehicle to grid next, because obviously IOGO is charging your car, and then you've got like outgoing for export or agile export, and now I've got charge cap related to that. So what's going to happen with vehicle to grid?
Well, first of all, I think we need to take a little bit of a step back, because we're already deep in jargon land, right? We've got vehicle to grid, vehicle to load, vehicle to home,
so that really
vehicle to
frustrates
X. Me. I know. You and I chat about this all the time. So I think about it just like they're all basically the same thing. The car charges, but it can also discharge. Wonderful.
And where it goes?
Where it goes is where it's needed. Yep. If it's needed all in the home, it all goes to the home. If there's excess and it goes to the grid, some goes to the grid. But what's it going to mean for existing IOGO customers as they get vehicle to grid enabled cars or bidirectional cars? Or God, we really have to think of a better term. We should do that. Note to self. It's just going to be an evolution, right? Yep. So we launched Power Pack, so that was just free charging. I think I can say we're going to launch some new bidirectional car related things later this year with some cool manufacturers.
Cool.
And as we've always had at Octopus, we have different tariffs for different people's needs and solutions, right? There's no one ring to rule them all. Everyone has a different setup, they have a different lifestyle, and we always want to cater to people's needs on an individual basis and not force everyone into a specific thing.
Yeah. So do you think actually, when we've gone through charge cap, but now we've got charge pack. So what I really like that we've done with charge pack is that it's like an add-on to IOGO if you've got a battery system, instead of do I want to be on Flux or Cozy or Go? Do you think we're going to see more of these kind of plug-in kind of models?
I think so. And I mean, time will tell, because if customers like it, we'll do more of it. If not that many customers like it, maybe we won't. But I think it's a really elegant solution, right? Because we know that over 25% of our IOGO customers have solar and a battery. And they've they're in the forums
a heat pump as well.
Yeah, and a heat pump too, right? And we chat with them in forums when they come and see us via email all the time. And so ChargePack, I think, is a really easy way of adding extra value without having to really think about it. And what's not to say that more things like that aren't coming?
Cool. Good. Right. Next one. Going back a little bit on IOGO. So we talked about solar. And actually, a common question that I see is, what happens if my car is being charged not just from the grid, but also from my solar system? What happens? Because obviously, we're not going to bill. You're not going to bill me. I'm not going to bill you. We're not going to bill based on your own solar energy.
So I think It's a really simple answer. You only get billed by us based on what gets imported through your meter. So if you've got solar generating that's charging the car, it can't be billed by us because we're not billing. That's your own.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So we're never going to get charged for our own solar. Key point. In fact, so kind of charge pack related when we're charging the battery. If I've got a home battery system, I've obviously written a blog article on this and said, if you can, blind the car, but the house battery system from the car charger, so you're not emptying your battery into your car when you start the car. Do you think with Charge Pack we'll get to a point where we kind of synchronize what we're doing with the car and what we're doing with the battery to try and stop those kind of scenarios rather than rewiring the house?
I mean, definitely, insofar that it's possible with the tech and the support from the different manufacturers that are installed at any given house. So yeah, it's definitely a big kind of thing that we want to solve for.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you should also share your blog more widely, because even as people are they may have solar in a battery and then they get an EV charger, making sure that whoever the electrician is that's doing that installation, that they're aware, so that you kind of get on the front foot of it.
Yeah, it's actually electrically safe to have separate sub-consumer units for your car, your heat pump, and then the rest of the house. And if that's done properly with the CT block, the Henley blocks and the CT clamps, then actually, if we do get to a point where you're back to the scenario of, yes, we can properly control everything on Charge Pack, then it's just a case of moving the CT clamp back again to the right place. But your wiring is just then flexible, if you like. So I kind of like that we
I like
suggest get the wiring right.
I mean, it's always a sensible thing, right?
Yep. Cool. Can we talk a little bit about OMI, BMW, and Mini, because they and Polestar actually, because they work differently on IO Go a little bit, particularly around the charge cap and the control.
Yeah, so with BMW and Mini and Polestar, all of those settings, because of how those brands have kind of built their kind of smart charging integrations with Octopus, you set them in the car kind of app, and as of this point in time, unfortunately, they don't yet have a solution to cap the amount. So for those customers, you got to set it in the OEM app or in your car brand app. And there isn't a way for them to yet cap at 6 hours.
Yeah,
we're working with them on it, but that's where we are. With OMI, currently it's OMI customers are kind of set that up in the OMI app, and that's rolling out at the moment. And I think later this year there'll be some changes to how the OMI and Octopus integration works, and so customers will be able to kind of set stuff in the Octopus app too if they wish. Because I know that's something that we get asked about a lot.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got all the other manufacturers, the cars and the chargers and all the stuff lined up in the way that makes the most sense, it's kind of logical to get to that.
I always think about it needs to be as simple as possible for customers, right?
Yeah.
And then that's what we solve for.
Yep, cool. Right, we're nearly at the end. Got one more question on tech side of things. So this is a difficult one. It's the complicated one. Smart meter measurement. So we're obviously not sub-metering the car or the charger, but we're using the smart meter as the measurement of what your home and your car are consuming. So just try and explain how we work out, well, that's the part that's the car charging and the rest is the home, both during the daytime and if we can, we can look at the nighttime period when we go over 6 hours.
So basically what we do is everything gets billed off what goes through the meter.
Yep.
So that's like a really important thing just to be aware of, because that's, and those meters are compliant to the MIR regulations and all the other kind of, list the acronyms of regs, right?
Mid-MIR.
Yeah.
Whether you're British or European.
That's true, yeah. What we then do is, we've got some really kind of, we've done hundreds of thousands of charging sessions via Intelligent Octopus Go over the years.
Yeah.
And we have a, very kind of highly accurate, super accurate, more accurate than the MIR.
Yes, because mid-MIR is like 2 or 3% accuracy when you read the regs on it.
And so we have so much data that our model actually is more accurate than the boundary meter measurement accuracy.
Cool.
To show exactly when is a car charging versus when is a car not charging.
Yeah, okay, cool. And overnight, I had one question come through. It was a customer hypothesizing, so I'm charging the car and my house is also consuming energy, but maybe solar battery system is supplying to the car as well. And I kind of looked at it and thought, okay, this is similar to the kind of solar charging that we talked about, and we'll bill you on the smart meter input. But actually, there's no solar overnight between 11:30 and 11:30. I did look on my system. Summer solstice, 21st of June, I had 64 watts, so 0.064 kilowatts at 5:30 in the morning. So I probably got 0.001 kilowatt hours of generation. So that's the most likely time I'd have got any solar generation that time.
Yeah.
But I think actually the customer was really asking the question whether their battery is discharging. I think that just goes back to the blog, and it's saying, well, you should be blinding your battery from the car. Yep. Cool. One last question, and we're done. Any future hints? What can you tell us is coming next?
I mean, this is the most fun part of our jobs, isn't it?
Tomorrow it'll be different tomorrow.
I think we've been working hard on Drive Pack. Some customers may know that we've been working on that for a few months, and I'm really excited about that. I think we're going to launch it in tiers, so super simple for customers who maybe don't have a lot of other tech yet at their homes, and they just want to know a very simple price about what they're going to pay for the amount of mileage they do. So that's coming soon. Charge Pack has been launched. Maybe there's something with a heat pump coming. Maybe there's something for air conditioning.
Just coming up for winter. Air conditioning.
Yeah,
that's top of mind as well.
Yeah, so and check out. Greg recently posted a video of some cool R&D stuff that's happening with cozies and cooling. So all that's got to fit into tariff design as well.
I'm going to ask the question again in a week because it'll be a completely different answer, and there'll be something else.
Cool.
Right, I think we're done. If you found this useful, send us comments back. And we'll do more if you need to do more and hear any other subjects that we want us to cover. Cool. Alex, pleasure.
Always.
Thanks very much.
Cheers. Bye.